Stuart, I have a question. Bob Sink.
This one.
Many of the tantric deities are depicted as wrathful. How is that an aspect of our meditation?
Well, yeah, they're not negative energies. They're basically strong, wrathful energies keeping all of the, in quotes, demons away, keeping all the negative. You need something strong like that inside you to keep all of the negativity from eating you up. So they produce these wrathful deities, which is really quite extraordinary in, what they depict. And it's that kind of power also in a person that transforms negativity into positive energy. You need the kind of strength that a Mahakala has, or a Hayagriva, one of those, wrathful divinities. And we need it because the negative quantity is really strong. And if we don't have energy of that nature working for us, it's really difficult to transform it. So, it's like the Chinese put food dogs in front of their temples and houses, and it's to keep all the negativity away, keep, all the negative energy away. And the Tibetans have these wrathful divinities, and their, sole purpose is that, to have that kind of power inside yourself, not power that you use to hurt other people or, dictate over other people, but power that you use to transform, all the blocks, the negativity inside one into energy that really gives life. So I've never seen those divinities as negative, or even sometimes the Mahasiddhas, and they always have these wrathful faces. But it's just that strength we need. We need that kind of strength to cure ourselves, to heal ourselves from all the stuff we've done to ourselves from the time we were kids. So, that whole thing of the devil and all that, it's all part of a particular, Western theology, but it's not something that is in the East. It's not something in Tibetan Buddhism. Even, goddess like Kali, they depict her as the cemetery goddess sometimes. And all she's doing, she's also the consort of Shiva, and she's just transforming the negativity in the world into energy that truly connects with Shiva or higher energy in the universe. And it's true, we all need that, that kind of power in us. I mean, Rudy certainly had that kind of power. You stick your finger inside him and it would burn off. He had this enormous power. But out of that power came sweetness and love and compassion. And it was burning all of the tension inside him, burning all the negativity inside him. So it's not wrathful. It's the kind of strength human beings need to really have a spiritual life.
Stuart, for us mere mortals, it seems sometimes it seems there's a fine line between wrathful and anger. How can we work with that?
Bob, there isn't a fine line between wrathful and anger. Not in my definition of wrathful. Anger is something you dump on the world, you beat somebody else up with, you beat yourself up with. wrathful, in my terminology and in my particular little dictionary that I have, it means that you have the power inside yourself to transform all the things that will make it impossible for you to have a spiritual life. You need that kind of strength, that kind of wrath. And you're not using anything to hurt anybody else. You're using it all to grow inside yourself. Anger is spit out at the world, and it does a lot of damage. It's a very different energy. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you, Stuart.
My next Tantra thing, I think, is going to get people. I mean, the picture I sent is very interesting. It's an extraordinary sculpture that's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art of the Virgin Mary holding the baby Christ. And what does this have to do with Tantra? Well, I tell you, honestly, it's probably one of the highest forms of Tantra. The transformation, the pregnancy of a woman being made pregnant by God. Each and every one of us undergoes this immaculate conception. We are being made pregnant by higher energy in the universe that gives birth to our higher selves. And when I saw that sculpture, I said, people are going to wonder what this has to do with tantric yoga. But I said, no, it's something extraordinary. I mean, nobody ever looks at it that way, but, it's the way I see it. Rebirth, being blessed with the energy of spirit that creates rebirth inside us. It's we're giving birth to the child of God inside us. So it's like wrathful deities like Mahakala and Hayagriva and Yamantaka and all these deities. It depends upon the depth of your understanding that allows you to see them. And many times the way they were created. Or do you identify with horror movies and you see these wrathful guys, suddenly they become Frankenstein and, all kinds of horror. They're not. My depth of understanding brought me to a place where I began to understand that we all, have to get impregnated with God's energy, and we have to give birth to the child of God that lives inside each and every one of us. And that birth enables us to attain a state of spiritual enlightenment. And I'm not a religious person, I don't really believe in religion. But when I see things that manifest deep spiritual consciousness, they touch me really deeply, When sculptures and paintings manifest deep, profound consciousness of what it means to have a spiritual life. Does anyone else have a question I would like to ask? I hope this is clear, because as you grow inside, you see the world differently. You understand the world. And I mean, I used to have a rabbi student of mine. He used to teach at the Hebrew seminary in Jerusalem. And he used to call me up to get my interpretations of the Bible. And I would give him my interpretations. They were always very mystical interpretations. And he said, they never taught anything like this in the seminaries. And he would call me up all the time to get my. And then I had another guy who was a very religious Jewish guy who used to come to my meditation classes, wearing the taluses and the yarmulkes and all this. And, I'll never forget this. He came to me after one class. He'd been studying about 3 or 4 months. And he said, Stuart, I want you to know that what you teach is the closest thing I've ever found in my life to the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. I have been looking for it. And and then he told me something that broke my heart. He said, but Stuart, I'm going to have to leave the meditation. And I said to him, why? He said, if my community ever found out I was doing this, they would ostracize myself, my wife, my children. They would just kick us out of the community. And it breaks my heart to have to leave, but I have to consider this possibility. It was really extraordinary, but I'll never forget, he said, what you teach is the closest thing I've ever found to the Kabbalah. So it's really the depth that you go inside yourself that enables you to realize that all of these religions and the mystical aspect, they're all emanate from the exact same place. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, if there are no more questions, then go get a good night's rest. This last weekend has been so extraordinary. I feel like every part of me has been stretched and ripped apart and taken apart and re-put together again. And, it's unbelievable. So God bless you all. Thank you for being part of my life. Thank you. God bless you all. And as I say all the time, I come to these classes because every one of you is my teacher, not because I am a guru or a swami or anything of that nature. I need to learn. These classes are helping me to grow enormously. So God bless you all. Thank you. And there'll be a class tomorrow evening, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.